This is from Wall Street Journal. Egypt can save Gaza civilians. Israel's taken measures to protect civilians in Gaza's operation, warning 1.1 million civilians to evacuate. By the way, 50% of people that live in Palestine are kids.
Wow.
And the northern Gaza Strip, while the Hamas intentionally uses civilians as human shields, as noted by German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, Hamas brings nothing but suffering and death. It is Hamas's perfidious strategy to use the civilian population as a human shield. Egypt, the only escape route for Gaza civilians, maintains strict entry quotas as a Rafah crossing, fearing the infiltration of Hamas terrorists. This hampers the evacuations of civilians, with 800 allowed to leave on Monday. 800. They're asking 1.1 to leave. Egypt is saying only 800 are allowed as of Monday. And the crossing reportedly closed recently. International pressure, especially from the United States, should encourage Egypt to open the Rafah crossing to prevent a humanitarian crisis and help break Hamas's control over Gaza civilians. Here's a question. Who knows Palestine and Gaza better, us or Egypt?
Egypt.
Why isn't Egypt allowing them to cross the border? Why are we so liberal in America with allowing people to come across the border? How many terrorists were found? 4 Iranian people, Rob, if you want to pull up that story.
Last 48 hours.
Yeah, pull this one up. You just had it up a couple minutes ago. When you find it, I'll show it.
Daily Mail page.
And this is just recently.
This is just recently.
Yeah.
No, Rob just had it up. 4 Iranians considered a terrorist threat caught at the U.S.-Mexico border as crossers from countries with links to Israel were spikes, right? So I wish U.S. treated the border of people coming up from Mexico the same way Egypt protected their border of people coming down to their country, because you know what's Egypt's responsibility? Who's their number one priority? Their country,
citizens,
their people.
Of course.
Who else's responsibility is that? So to me, the same question I have of how does Israel, the number one secret intelligence organization in the world, Mossad, you didn't know Hamas was going to do this? And then to the people like, that's right, Israel knew this was going to happen. They wanted you guys to fall for it. And mainstream media has been behind it. To all the people that are liking that story, my question back to you is, if the people of Gaza, Palestine, Hamas, are so friendly and gentle and kind that you say they are, no one knows them better than their next door neighbor. Who knows your neighbor better than you on what they do on the weekends? If you've lived next to them for hundreds of years, you're going to know when they barbecue. You're going to know when they talk shit. You're going to know when they do parties. You're going to know how drunk they get. You're going to know that auntie that comes out, fights break out. You're going to know which kid is a trouble. You're going to know who sneaks in girls in the back. You're going to know all of that stuff. And if you do, why do you say, nope, you guys can't come here? Why would you say that? Both are very, very valid questions. You asked this question last week. You got me thinking about the whole thing where, hey, Egypt, if you want to do something about it, let them in. Why don't you? It's a valid question. So, to both sides, if you can't entertain two ideas at the same time and be willing to be wrong, you're just as much as part of the problem as the people that are going, no, I'm only going to believe this side. You're the problem. You have to entertain both ideas to see what's really taking place here, or else you're causing the emotions to go high for us to make some dumb decisions that could cost millions of people's lives. This is not one of those stories that could end up being only 5,000 people, 5,800 people. This could go like this. Ready? You ever seen these fires in California?
The boom.
One little match. Boom. And then whew,
and
go.
The wind, the Santa Ana winds blows it.
Hawaii, the wind. Boom.
Boom, done.
Game over. It could go that quickly. So make sure you and I, if you watch this, some of you watch this because you love what we have to say, but many of you also watch this because you hate what we have to say. But the few of you that watch it because we do our best to be fair to entertain both ideas, that group, we have to be louder. We have to be louder to get people to entertain both ideas. That's my biggest concern with this thing here. My concern is that people are going to jump to conclusion without weighing both options, and then all of a sudden, boom, we have World War III, and then we're sitting there saying, how did 82 people in our community in Florida die? How did 17 innocent kids in school in Kansas City die? How did 29 people like that kid that got, who's the kid? Did you see the two young kids in Chicago? What was the one that just happened?
And there was one in Texas too, I think.
Yeah, these stories. Dude, what did these kids do?
Yeah.
These kids didn't do anything.
Yeah.
This is the Muslim boy killed and woman wounded in Illinois, hate crime motivated by Israel-Hamas war. Yeah. You can go to the other side. Stories on both sides taking place everywhere right now.
This is the beginning. And by the way, this is just the beginning.
Trust me, America. Especially those that live in America. Trust me, America, you don't want this, okay? You do not want this. There's a reason why fire is so up right now and people are worried because they're worried that this could come to their backyard. And FYI, if you're listening to this, you could be a part of that problem because you and I are just seeing one side of the story. That's all I have to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me put on my pretend I'm a diplomat hat. So, Pat, when you left Iran in 1990, what year did you leave Iran?
November 28th. No. When I left Iran was July 15th, 89.
Okay, July 89. You didn't just go straight to America. You didn't go straight to Germany. You lived in a what? Refugee
camp in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be a diplomat and try to provide a solution, Israel, Gaza, what separates them from Egypt, which I totally agree that there should be a border crossing safe haven for refugees, is something called the Sinai Peninsula. A refugee camp should be set up, established, and vet everyone that comes into these camps. How was your family vetted like crazy? Like, did they want to understand who your father was, who you were? You were probably 10 years old at the time. But I'm assuming all the young men, women included as well, but specifically the military-age men were completely vetted before you were let into the country, or certainly until you were let in America. Similar to, if you just kind of punch in on the Sinai Peninsula right there. So that's a solution that could be done here, because you can't just, basically here's what's happening. Israel is basically saying, get the hell out of Gaza. We are coming full force for Hamas. We do not want to kill civilians. Please leave. Now, what is Hamas saying? Stay. We need you. We need you to stay here. Why? Because Hamas uses its citizens to protect Hamas, whereas Israel uses the IDF to protect its citizens. Let me say that again. Hamas uses its citizens to protect Hamas as human shields, whereas the IDF will protect its citizens. So if Hamas put down all their guns, all their weapons, there would be peace. If Israel put down all their guns and all their weapons, they would all be dead. The moral equivalency is not even close. So what by the way, if you've seen speaking of Egypt, let me just highlight some of the countries that have come out pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas. Here are the countries that have basically come out pro-Israel. So you just figure out what side you stand on for the countries that I'm about to name. Countries that are pro-Israel: USA, the UK, Germany, France, Italy, India, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and 70 other democratic free countries. Countries that are anti-Israel, pro-Hamas: Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Turkey, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, China, Venezuela. I mentioned Turkey twice. And all the communist authoritarian regimes. Again, the horseshoe. Notice a country that wasn't mentioned. They're just sort of monolithic and they're not saying anything right now. Egypt. They're like, dude, we can't come out and promote peace with Israel, even though they have peace with Israel. But in no way, shape, or form, using the neighbor analogy, are we coming out condoning what's going on here, being
and no one knows
pro-Hamas.
them better than their neighbor.
Of course.
Yeah.
So the thing to me that civilians, the objective of Hamas is to kill civilians. The objective of the U.S. Army, the IDF, whether it's the UK, actually democratic, normal, modern world countries, is the intention to not kill civilians. And at the end of the day, I was actually watching an interview on the BBC. It was the former Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett. He said this. He goes, let me ask you something. He asked this to the reporter. Let me ask you something. If someone was shooting at you and your family, and they were hiding behind civilians, what would you do? Would you shoot back? Answer that. So everyone should answer that. If someone was shooting at you, shooting at your family, and they were standing behind civilians, okay, what would you do? What would you do, Vin?
I'm shooting.
You're shooting back.
Kill, obviously.
It's kill or be killed.
100%.
So if someone's trying to kill you, you have two choices. Try to kill them or be killed.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the situation that's going on in Israel right now, is that they're literally trying to kill them.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, I don't want to have to kill innocent civilians, but you leave me no choice.
Yep.
And that's essentially the problem
And
that's going on.
Pat, you mentioned this. Forbes wrote the article about conspiracy theorists, like they're saying Charlie Kirk, that Israel knew Hamas would attack, right? Then they contradict themselves. They write an article the next day that says U.S. intelligence reports included warnings from September and October that the CIA and other Middle Eastern allies knew, and so they could have prevented it. So, and follow me, Pat. Like, and they're acting like it doesn't matter, but they should have been on high alert. They were warned September 28th. They were warned October 5th. It's just crazy. Like, when are we going to stop pretending that nobody knew? And when are we going to hold people accountable? For instance, they asked John Kirby at the White House reporter for the massive security failure. You know what his answer was? Now's not the time. Like, everybody, no. I think of course now's the time. We're moving forward. They're about to attack. I mean, dude, this is like a godsend, I guess, so some more children could leave. You know why they haven't invaded in Gaza, Pat? The weather. There's weather, so everybody's slowing down. Thank God, so hopefully more kids get out of there. But like decisions are being made, just like in when we invaded Iraq. We went in on weapons of mass destruction, war. Then we bombed the shit out of everybody, and then they're like, oh, by the way, no weapons of mass destruction. Like, it's too late. Answers need to be answered, right? The questions need to be answered. And here's my question. Charlie brought this up, Pat. Is it so far-fetched? I'm being genuine, that a leader that's kind of, controversial, is not going that good for him, there's brink of civil war in your country, is it crazy to let an event like what just happened happen to unify everybody so nobody looks at you and they all look at the issue? And if it is true, I'm going to ask you, Adam, if it is true that this genuinely happened, they had intelligence, because the proof is in the pudding, it looks like they did, and they kind of went like this and let their people die, okay? Same type of shit with 9/11. What then? Adam, real question. What do the people do? What do you do?
I'll answer that. I mean, and Charlie Kirk brought up the question, was a stand-down order ordered?
Yeah.
I think it's two things. I think it's, number one, fair to ask that question.
100%.
But I also think it is unfair to draw a conclusion.
Okay.
We don't know. Do you know with 100% certainty?
No, I don't know.
Correct.
But my question is,
fair
right
to
now,
ask the question.
Okay, ask the question,
but to draw the conclusion that Bibi Netanyahu gave a stand-down order, I think is very unfair and very uninformed by anyone who's asking that.
But here's my question. The fact that there's proof that the CIA knew, intelligence knew, Egyptians warned them days before, and this still happened in a place that is the most secure place besides us. I mean, I would say that loosely. Like, right now is the time to answer. Like, everybody, I know you guys, you're going to war, but time out for 1 second. How the hell did you not raise the flag, put security, beef up security? And I get what you're saying. It's the question needs to be answered now, not in 2 years where we go backwards and all these people are dead and we go, oh shit, you know what? We kind of knew, and this guy over here messed up with the intelligence and didn't run it up the flagpole. That's bullshit.
I think Adam has a point there. You can go back and you can look at World War II and Pearl Harbor. And there's books that were written that FDR and the American intelligence knew the Japanese would try to bomb Pearl Harbor. And that's why the aircraft carriers weren't there. They were all out on patrols. They were all out on there. Well, what genius figured out that if the Japanese were going to attack something, they were coming by boat? Go take a look at the map. I don't know what other way they would have arrived. And so there's a lot of people that say that. And now you have to say the conclusion. So I'm with Adam on this one. The conclusion would be FDR sacrificed 2,000 men at Pearl Harbor so he could get into the Pacific War with Japan. No, it was good strategy to keep the aircraft carriers out. Was there bad intelligence or an incomplete intelligence? Yeah. But books have been written over the course of history of coulda, shoulda, did you know, when you know. But I have a hard time believing that Bibi Netanyahu wanted to sacrifice Israeli citizens to get into the war and to permanently remove Gaza as his excuse to get in, just as I don't believe that FDR left us vulnerable in Pearl Harbor.
What year was that? What year was Pearl Harbor?
1941.
1941. This is 2023. Our technology, bro, we have satellites that could look through people's houses. And my cousin Mike told me that, Pat, one of his guys that's in
but we're talking about, I agree.
No, we're talking about intelligence from Israeli intelligence and our intelligence.
I agree on the
How do you not know? How do you not know?
I agree on the technology, but we're talking about the same human decision, whether you're dealing with boats in World War II or you're dealing with Gaza and paragliders, is would that leader to get his country triggered into the war, sacrifice people? It's the same moral decision.
And my question was, I just posed the question. I said, is it so far-fetched that a human being, or Netanyahu, Bush Jr., all these assholes, to me, I'm not calling Netanyahu, I'm talking about Bush Jr., you mean to tell me Like, it's so far-fetched that weapons of mass destruction, because of Bush Jr.'s decision of they have these weapons, he's not stupid, Tom. They got us into that war and then changed the name of the war after it was said and done.
By the way, here's what I think. For the non-emotionally involved party, we should entertain all those ideas, okay? For the non-emotionally involved party, we should all entertain all of those ideas. If I'm in the military, guess what I'm writing down? I'm writing down all possibilities. If I'm working with the president right now and one of the advisors, President Biden says, "Oh, hey, PBD, what do you think happened here?" It's okay. Let's look at this. Is how I would look at the decision. All right, let's look at 5 things. Hamas, in the last 10 years, have advanced their military so much that they're apparently better than Mossad, better than CIA, better than Navy SEALs, better than Special Ops, better than IDF, better than everybody. Maybe that is a possibility. What's the percentage behind that? Put a possibility. 1%? 2%? 5%? Okay, fine.
1.
They're underground, whatever tunnels they built. It's so advanced, and that's what they're doing. Cool. Let's put that as a possibility. 2, Netanyahu needed confirmation from the world to be able to attack that because he saw the case study of how Russia went against Ukraine. And in this situation where he thinks would be different, in this situation, he is Russia. But in this situation, the world and NATO would defend Russia. Meaning, where NATO defended Ukraine, in this situation, Ukraine is Hamas. Let's just say, I'm saying not Hamas, but Palestine.
I got you.
And Russia is Israel. But imagine if Russia attacks Ukraine and NATO defends Russia. What would happen to Ukraine?
Oh, my God.
Within a week, they're what? They're done.
Finito. Wiped
Imagine
out.
if we gave Russia $100 billion. There is no Ukraine. Ukraine is not part of Russia, right?
It's Russia now.
In this case, Israel's the superpower, the Middle East, let's just say, from the military side. Okay, so maybe Israel did this to get the world permission of, the 6-hour stand down, all that stuff. Okay, that is a possibility. Mr. President, what percentage you think that's there? Let's put a number there, whatever that percentage is. Number 3, maybe I would go through all of these scenarios and collectively ask for intel, get the smartest guys there, and ask the question, why isn't Egypt letting people in? If they're so great, why aren't they letting them in? What is the chance of Iran getting involved here? Who's Russia going to defend? If Israel does attack Gaza and wipes out 20,000 people, Iran's going to call Hezbollah, and Hezbollah attacks. Should we believe the threat that the Hamas makes that if you attack us, we're going to kill these hostages that we have one by one, and we're going to air it so you can see how humiliating this is, and you're going to feel the pain. You're killing those people, so the blood's going to be on whose hands? Netanyahu's hands for killing the... I'm going to put all that stuff up. Then you have to take a risk. Nobody knows 100% what's going on. Every one of those things should be weighed.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.